you hear so much online, Roland, with regard to the Congressional Black Caucus isn't doing this and isn't doing that. We've heard that for years. When you don't have Black Press USA in the room to report on what they're doing, there's the false idea that they're not doing anything.
Right.
But there's no one there to tell the story.
Hey, y'all, it's always a battle when you're in Black-owned media, when you're dealing with, frankly, white folks who are in control of various systems. And I can tell you the numerous times when you talk about working red carpets, when you're talking about trying to get credentials to all kinds of different things, I mean, it's always difficult for Black-owned media. Well, guess what? There's not a single Black-owned media organization listed as a member of the Daily Press Gallery on Capitol Hill. For months, the NNPA, Dr. Ben Chavis, April Ryan, and others have been trying to secure permanent credentials for April, Stacey Brown, and Lauren Victoria Burke, who all write for Black Press USA. Well, Stacey and Lauren join us right now to discuss how this has been going on. And Stacey, this has been a battle for a decade?
Oh, it goes beyond that. I mean, you remember your old buddy who used to run, was the editor of the
George Curry.
Newswire.
My man George Curry.
George had this. Even the great George Curry had the same issue, Roland, and it's still an issue. And thank goodness we have fighters like Lauren Burke who's been pushing this issue as much as anybody.
So, Lauren, what the hell is the deal? Why are they? I mean, first of all, people don't know who is this group and who do they work for? Do they work for the government? Do they work for other media outlets? Who are they? And how are they deciding that Black Press USA, which writes for all the Black papers across the country, isn't deserving of a credential?
Well, the press galleries rolling on Capitol Hill are staffed, of course, by government employees. And then there's a standing committee of journalists for each gallery that decides on credentials. And so when you apply for credentials, that standing committee, made up, of course, of journalists, make that decision. There's several press galleries, of course, that cover the different forms of media that we have. You have the radio TV gallery, you have the periodical press gallery, you have the daily press gallery, you have the press photographers gallery. When I first came to Capitol Hill, I was actually a federal employee. I was a staffer. An intern for some senators. And then I got into the media. My first real media job was ABC News. And my first credential was with the radio TV gallery because I worked for Cokie Roberts. Cokie Roberts at that point was a member of the standing committee. So in those days, it was pretty easy to get credentials, I think, not just because I was affiliated with Cokie Roberts, but because that gallery, run at the time by Larry Janzik, who was a great guy and still a great guy, now run by a guy named Mike Mastrian, who's also a great guy, has always been a great gallery in terms of openness. I think the rules are just tighter for daily press and periodical press. And by the way, the Black Press USA is really a daily Black newswire that feeds 230 Black newspapers across the country. So it's basically a Black wire service. So this has been going on for years, as Stacey said. I think it was going on before George Curry, actually. I didn't pay too much attention because I was getting my credential, I think, as a freelancer at the time. I'd gotten one from The Hill, and I'd gotten one from Associated Press because I was a contract photographer for Associated Press as well. But for some reason, Black Press USA has not been credentialed and cannot get credentialed. And this has gone on way too long. And at this moment, Roland, my attitude is now I am done talking to the people that I have been talking back and forth with for years. I think that the only people I will be talking to about this issue moving forward will be members of Congress. Now, if I lose the argument with them, I've lost the argument. But there's something wrong here when Gateway Pundit can get a credential. And by the way, I'm not here to argue against anybody else's credentials. I believe in the First Amendment, whether I agree with any other news organization or not. I don't care if it's Daily Caller or the Gateway Pundit or the 19th or anybody else. There's a lot of news organizations that are credentialed, and they deserve the right to cover Congress and be there and question members of Congress. But I think Black Press USA deserves that right as well. I'm getting really tired of this discussion, particularly when Dr. Ben Chavis, and April Ryan, who is a historic journalist, can't walk in there and get credentials. There's something wrong with that.
So for people who don't know, do you need this credential in order to bring a camera in order to do interviews? Why do you explain to people who don't know why you need to be credentialed if you go to the U.S. Capitol?
You know, once upon a time, it was a lot easier, Roland. Right now, because of the restrictions of security, it has become increasingly difficult to have a face-to-face with a member. Now, of course, you can stake a member out at their office in one of the office buildings or a senator. What they do now, though, they close down the plaza during votes, and they close down the areas outside where there are press conferences occasionally, which are known as the Triangle and the Swamp. Shout out to Frida Murphy, who's a staffer for Yvette Clarke, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, who came to get me outside one time when I could not get to the position where the press conference was in, which is right outside the Capitol steps, which is called the House Triangle.
So if you have a credential, you're allowed in that space. If you don't, you have to leave.
Correct. And the cops put barriers up so that you cannot get on the plaza of the front of the Capitol. That used to not be the case. That's a fairly recent development, probably in the last 2 years. Understandable with everything with Jan 6. I'm not trying to criticize the security on Capitol Hill, but you need a hard pass more today than you did when I first started.
No question. And make no mistake, and I know obviously you know this, Roland, but this is not just about a press pass. You know, this is a decades-long battle. This is a reluctance to allow, as already been stated, the Black press of America, the nation's trusted Black-owned wire service and news organization, into the same spaces as the AP, Reuters, CNN, the Senate Press Gallery, and House Gallery have continuously stonewalled us, denied us, and disrespected the very essence of what we represent, Roland. And you know that. And here's the thing. Today, we are seeing the word diversity be turned into a curse word by this administration and by this Congress. We are seeing Black history, American history, being attacked and threatened with erasure. Our community needs you, of course. You do more than anybody, Roland, but they need you. They need the Black press more now than probably ever before.
Well, see, what people don't understand, the fight, the battle that goes on, behind closed doors. This is a battle in Hollywood every single year when it comes to award time. And because of where you get positioned on the carpet. So in our Black Star Network studios was hanging up. This photo is hanging up right here. Let me see if I can do it right here. All right, this photo. So let me explain to y'all. Okay, first of all, switch cameras. Go to camera 2. Give me a wide shot. Thank you. So just so y'all understand. So y'all see this photo here? All right. So we're in Dallas. Hillary Clinton is First Lady, and Hillary Clinton is coming to the Martin Luther King Center on King Drive in South Dallas. Literally less than 100 yards across the street is the Dallas Weekly, Black newspaper. So I go over to the King Center, and I'm just checking out, everything. So I walk into this room. Okay, shot taking the same room. So they had 2 rooms. They had one room set up where they had a bunch of lights, and then they had another room across the hall. So I said, hey, what's going on in here? They said, oh, well, when the First Lady comes, she's going to visit with some of the kids and who are in the daycare. And I said, really? Okay, well, who's going to be in the press pool? They said, oh, the Dallas Morning News, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Associated Press, Reuters, I think UPI was still around. And I went, ain't no Black people, ain't no Black media in the press pool? They said, no, and it's all closed. I said, oh, hell no. I said, ain't no way in hell the First Lady is coming to Black South Dallas, coming to the Martin Luther King Center. I said, and a Black paper is less than 100 yards across the street, and ain't nobody in the black press gonna be in this damn press pool. I said, you need to go get somebody on the advance team. And they were like, And so I handed my card. I was managing editor of the Dallas Weekly. And so it came back. Mr. Martin, you've been added to the press pool. I was like, you damn right. Now, I need people watching to understand that means that by having if nobody black was in that press pool, that if we wanted to run photos of the First Lady in talking with these black kids, we would have had to buy the photo from AP or some other source. Right. And this is the stuff that I need people watching every day to understand. This happens all of the time. It happens all of the time where we show up to political events and white media, they've got positions staked out on the dais. They've got, people, I'm telling you, the public has no idea the battles that black-owned media has to contend with behind the stages. How many of y'all recall seeing this image right here? That is the shot of Monetta Sleet Jr., Ebony Magazine, and that's the photo of Bernice King on the lap of her mother, Coretta Scott King, at Dr. King's funeral. Do y'all know how that actually happened? The press pool was Jim Crow white. They would not allow Ebony Jett in the press pool. Mm-hmm. Simeon Booker, Lerone Bennett, went to Coretta Scott King and said, Mrs. King, the white journalists are not going to allow Ebony Jett to be in the press pool. And Coretta Scott King said, you let them know that if Ebony and Jett are not in the press pool, there will be no press pool inside of the church. Mm-hmm. That is the only reason Sleet got into the press pool, and he captured that image, and that's how he became the first African-American to win a Pulitzer Prize for photography, because Coretta Scott King said, ain't gonna happen.
Right. And it is about being in that position and being allowed to be in that position. And along those lines, Roland, the other thing for the black community I think is very important at this time of budget cuts and all that is that you hear so much online, Roland, with regard to the Congressional Black Caucus isn't doing this and isn't doing that. We've heard that for years. When you don't have Black Press USA in the room to report on what they're doing, there's the false idea that they're not doing anything.
Right.
But there's no one there to tell the story. So
because white media not going to talk to them.
No, and that is why we for years have implored the CBC to make sure not only to talk to us, but in a situation like this, Roland, really, quite frankly, they should be stepping up and saying, well, listen, the same way Mrs. King said, if Ebony and Jett is not in here, then no one's going to be in here. We're not talking to nobody if we're not talking to the black press, or we're not talking to Roland Martin.
So what's next? Lauren, what's next?
What's next is a bunch of conversations with members of Congress, and some of those have started already, and quite frankly, they're very receptive, and they hear us. They hear, what's going on here. You should know, too, Roland, that Byron Donalds, the obviously black Republican from Florida, wants to rename the press gallery, the House Press Gallery, after Frederick Douglass, which I actually think is a noble idea, don't get me wrong, but it's filled with irony given the fact that there's very few black reporters in that gallery. I actually don't know that Congressman Donalds is aware of that. I'm actually trying to find him to talk to him about that. And I suspect that when he is aware of it, he's going to be not happy about it. I know that we, sometimes make fun of black Republicans, but I have a feeling that he's going to not know what we're talking about right now. And, it's a chicken and egg thing, and the competitive advantage, just like you said about Monetta Sleet, Roland, it's like you lose competitive advantage when you do not have a credential and you cannot be in position to get the news. It's a huge, huge problem right now.
Well, let me know when y'all decide when y'all want to organize, or let's say 50 or 100 black journalists to roll up on Capitol Hill. And who's the dude who's not saying yes?
You know, he's actually not a bad guy.
I don't give a shit if he's not a bad guy. He ain't said yes. See, I don't give a damn. No, I've known him for a while. That's fine. Listen, you can know him for a while, but he ain't said yes. So all I'm saying is, let me know when we need to roll up, like the Halloran brothers in Strictly Business.
You're right. I hear you, Roland. There's too many cooks in the kitchen, and that gallery director has a lot of people, you know, that he has to deal with. I'm not saying it's easy.
I get it.
I'm saying Black Press USA should have a credential.
And what I'm saying is some folk don't respond until they feel some black heat.
I got you. Believe me, I got you.
So let me know when y'all send up the bat signal, and then we need to roll up on them. Yeah, let me know when y'all toss the hat in the air, you know, and so the cavalry roll up, because I ain't got no problem getting in somebody's ass. So y'all let me know.
All right, you gonna swim across the water there?
Huh?
You gonna swim across the water too?
Hey, nah, I ain't gonna swim across the water, but I guarantee you, hashtag Team Whip That Ass gonna roll up in there. All right, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland.
Listen, this is the stuff. John, let's start with you. This extends beyond this issue here. This is what happens when we talk about political advertising money. We talk about general market money. And we talk about all sorts of things.